Musi, right?
Musi,
Yeah.
yes.
So I knew how to pronounce it. I just got to double check. So.
Act like you like each other.
We've had a couple of conversations, right?
Talk about high minds and shit.
Yeah, exactly. We ready?
You're already going, yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Brett House from Signal and Noise, beaming into you from day one of Possible in a beautiful, beautiful Mad Connect mansion on 1374 South Venetian Way on a little island overlooking Miami. And it's quite beautiful. And I've got George Musi with me, who we've had on the podcast recently. Who's a phenomenal guest. You were a phenomenal guest, by the way. I think we had an hour and a half. I think we had an hour and a half episode.
We did.
Went like full Joe Rogan on that.
That's right.
And we talked about a lot of things, and I thought we'll rehash some of that. But you've had a recent experience at Horizon Commerce as an EVP, or Chief Business Officer,
Correct.
right? You've had a ton of experience in retail media and commerce media, right? And now you're here at this show on behalf of MadSense.
Correct.
Right, as the sort of fractional chief strategy officer, is that the way
Correct.
to put it?
Yep.
Right. So why don't we start with your commerce? You made some comments on back and forth on email around commerce media and retail media. It's been with retail media, it's been a rapidly growing ecosystem. I've done some research recently on it.
Yeah.
It's gotten kind of messy, even though there's a lot of concentration at the top between the Walmarts and the Amazons. Yep. There's 200 other retail media networks all competing for budget and growing. All of them maybe middle, in a way, walled gardens.
Yep.
It's kind of a messy ecosystem. How do brands think about that? Do you think that there's room for improvement, and how does that tie into commerce media as a whole?
Yeah, so we've seen kind of this book already, right? It's kind of the same process when programmatic first came out, right? And more specifically when the DSP first came out.
Yeah.
And then so the first one was like, wow, this is great. What can I exactly? I can do this and this at the same time. Great. Then the next 20 came out. Oh, that's great. That's choice, right? I don't have to be. And then the next 1,000 came out, and everybody was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Right. And
you end up with fragmentation.
Well, you end up with fragmentation. You end up with dilution.
Yeah.
Because everybody has to say something different.
Yeah.
We do something completely different, and the reality is it's impossible. It's already been done.
Yeah. And so you're seeing kind of the same story told in 50 different ways when they're all fundamentally doing the same thing.
And at some point, you've reached the point of diminishing.
Yeah.
Right. Adding another retail media network doesn't add any more value.
Yeah.
It distracts away from the value that brands are looking to get. Retail media, we've had it. It has been called shopper marketing. Yeah. The only difference now.
And that was the offline world where you'd see end caps. You'd go into the store.
And it was very successessul.
Yeah.
Very successful, right? People built whole strategies around the
shelf placement.
Yeah. The place that people ultimately purchase the product, right?
Yeah. I've heard some people call that the white glove mafia.
That's right.
Right? Where that I think it was of marketing spend for CPG, the number that I've heard was that 75 cents of every dollar was going towards shopper marketing.
Yep.
And the digital, like the media space, they were all competing for the remaining 25 cents.
Correct.
So you've got digital media, linear media, all competing for this much smaller share.
Correct.
So
that's why the brand media dollars started becoming more and more and more, because they needed a way to get more media spend,
to get more. Because
shopper marketing, people will not agree to this, or they will pick the reason to disagree. But shopper marketing was the purest performance.
Yeah.
Right. Point of purchase. That was the whole idea.
Impulse purchase,
which we now call lower funnel.
Yeah. And you could track back with like, hey, we're Nabisco. We've made this change to our end cap strategy,
and
or to our shelf strategy, and you see the resulting increase.
Not even to the day, you can actually see the SKUs.
Yep.
Because we have POS data, right?
Yep.
Somebody scans it, it goes through. You can't lie about that, right?
Yep.
So that was the purest way of doing it. Now we've just done that same thing. It's called a digital storefront.
Yeah.
Still a store.
Yeah.
Right. The only difference is instead of paying Walmart, you are paying Amazon.
Yeah. And do you think there's a fundamental, because I've talked to some CEOs in the past that had some issues with, and this was at my former company, Media Radar, Matt Krepsik, had some issues with kind of retail media saying, hey, once you go outside of the environment of the e-commerce shop front, right, you're just doing an audience extension play.
It's pretty
right
much it.
In the open web versus what you're doing in the e-commerce environment is really just shopper marketing.
That's right.
digitized.
That's it.
So
Because remember, it's not just people assume it's just media.
yeah,
When you go to Amazon, it's not just media, right?
Yeah.
It's product. It's like you go to a store, product placement,
yep,
search. It's all the same exact things.
Yep.
Promotion, pricing. It's all the same exact
Yep.
thing. The only difference is you can activate media digitally and
Yep.
understand how that it's impacting from discovery to decisioning in the same environment. You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a closed ecosystem.
You have a lot more intelligence around
Right.
what the consumer's doing, what they might potentially,
And-
their propensity to buy something next after they've bought
Correct.
something, which you can't do dynamically in an
You
in-store
can't. And
environment.
plus, you're in the home of Amazon, so Amazon can see everything.
Yeah,
Right, so they can calibrate and distribute and reassess and understand, right, to ensure that you're hopefully getting the best value for your dollar. Once you expand outside of that, we call it commerce media because it's not endemic anymore.
Yeah.
It's not endemic.
it's not endemic to the retailer.
Yeah,
It could
you
be
used
any
to-
sort of financial
Correct.
transaction event.
You're still using
Right.
first party data,
Yep.
right? But you're absolutely right. When people talk about commerce media, they label it commerce media. You're like, okay, what are you using? Well, CTV, I'm doing some video, I'm doing some social, I'm doing some audio. So you're just doing media.
Yeah, but they're targeting them off of some sort of ID that's tied
Correct.
back to some
But we-
behavior
but
within
we-
a commerce environment.
But we've been
like
doing that.
DoorDash
We've been
or
doing
whatever.
that anyway.
Yeah.
Like the first party play within using somebody's first party data or using some proxy of understanding who you should go after versus not. That's not new.
Yeah.
What was been really impactful was this notion that you have an environment purely focused on retail,
Yeah.
which was Amazon,
Yeah.
which was Walmart,
Wow.
arguably Target too, right? But now you have all these other players. You know, you got Chase, which is interesting. Those are what I would call commerce media players, right?
Yeah.
What does a bank have to do with placing commerce media,
Yeah.
right? So they have a commerce media offering, Chase Media Solutions.
Yeah.
So does everybody else, but they're not selling anything.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I looked at what
Well,
retail-
other than targetable, sort of pseudonymized data, right?
Correct.
So you can target these people based on their purchase behavior without tying it back to PII.
Correct.
Which is an advantage, right? Which
Correct.
is, and so you'd say that's true commerce media.
So I would say that to me, true retail. I define commerce media as transaction.
Yeah.
That's the way it was, right? It was
Yeah.
always this notion of communication to commerce.
Yeah.
I communicate, I can see it. That was always been the goal. That
Yeah.
was always be the goal of what we do in marketing.
Yeah.
Right? Incrementality in driving commercial transactions.
Yeah.
Great, awesome, right?
Yeah.
I can understand the Amazon story. I can understand the Walmart story.
Yeah.
I can understand the Target. Hey, I can even understand the Home Depot story.
Yeah.
I get it because they.
Yeah.
you-
And
so-
you're talking about from an attribution perspective
Correct.
as well, right? They've been
Correct.
exposed to X, they do
know.
Y, we control the point.
Yeah.
We can try that the entire
thing.
flow,
So-
all the way through the point of
But
sale.
then you
Yeah.
got somebody like a Chase or Delta.
Yeah.
What do they sell? Chase
Yeah.
is not selling anything,
Yeah.
as far as I know, right?
Yeah.
But they become enablers of it. Now, what commerce media has become is this notion is, hey, I have all these audiences,
Yeah.
right, that are coming to my business. I'm a Chase customer. Go in, right?
Yeah.
I have this understanding. So if you want to sell financial products, or you want to sell automobiles, or you want to sell whatever, right? We have this great piece of information.
Which arguably should drive better outcomes
Correct.
from a targeting perspective
Correct.
and an intent and
Correct.
engagement perspective. But is it attributable like retail media is?
If you have the right if you have the right connecting mechanism, yes.
Yeah.
So you're going to have something that enables you to take multiple data sets that are not necessarily common and
Yeah.
figure out a common. In this day and age,
That's the
a
hard
clean
part.
room
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? I say something like that because the clean rooms are starting to kind of not really do what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Right? So, but you need something like that where you're not disclosing information
Yeah.
because you don't want to. You
Yeah.
don't want Chase to say, "Look at all the stuff that you know about our customers now,"
Yeah.
right? Or prospects. The other one doesn't want to do the same thing, but they want to understand that their data plus this data actually created a better relationship.
Yeah.
So you need something like that that's unbiased.
Yeah, and because I've heard some commerce media people, it was at a beat retreat,
Yep.
the Berkshires, for example. They were claiming that one of the big advantages of commerce media was this sort of kind of a persistent purchase ID, right, related to some sort of financial transaction, right? Let's say it's a bank or a DoorDash or whatever it might be, that gives them a greater view through the path to purchase, right? And I would say that to me is an argument for retail media,
Correct.
but not necessarily for commerce media without
Correct.
some pretty hefty data science
Correct.
and some kind of extrapolation of whether or not it drove
Correct.
any sort of lift or
So
improvement.
the idea is, if you're trying to find a certain type of population, right, higher household income, uh, or you're trying to steal. So if B of A is trying, which is weird, right? So if Bank of America is trying to take customers, uh, they can use Chase Media,
Yeah,
right, to target, right, which
yeah,
is a weird thing, right? You like, so that I understand when you're trying to go specifically to a vertical,
yeah,
Delta, whoever it is, right, has this capability or ability to say, look, you can target these people inside Amazon,
yeah,
okay, and you don't necessarily have to get them to buy something. The idea is to have them purchase something,
yeah,
right, somewhere else. So if your target population has these types of profile,
yeah.
and it could be,
Which is a purchase propensity of
that's
some
right.
sort.
It's not, so you and I are not just one dimensional.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
Chase customer. I have this type of car. I drive. I love this. Right. So we're all very multidimensional in nature.
yeah, yeah,
The whole idea of what commerce media was is to say this data exists
yeah,
in places now that have realized that they are sitting on valuable information
yeah.
that can be
That might
connected
be predictive of intent,
of intent.
purchase, and so now let's. I think this is a good pivot
Yeah.
to AI. Like,
Yep.
and you've had a lot of you on our podcast, and if you haven't
Yep.
listened to the podcast with George, it's phenomenal. It was released a couple of weeks ago. You've had some issue with a lot of the hype, a lot of the smoke and mirrors around
Yep.
how, coming from a data science
Yep.
background, right? You know how machine learning worked 20 years ago and how it's working today.
Correct.
Um, like how much better are we getting at applying AI in a way that is predictive of intent, of purchase behavior, to ensure that we're not being followed around the web with something that you already purchased, which
Yep.
seems to be a persistent problem.
Yep.
Retargeting sort of created it, but it doesn't seem to have cured itself.
Yep.
Where do you see that us now with
So
all of the story
the,
here?
the propensity modeling aspect, right? Look at behavioral modeling, look at psychographic modeling, look at all those types of things that give you a better sense that this person is in the market at some point.
Yeah,
Timing,
yeah,
right? And you should communicate to them.
yeah,
Okay, we've been doing that a long time.
yeah,
Even we did that even before digital. The
Yeah.
CPG was built exactly on that premise.
yeah,
Right, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Right, those are called propensity models. Right?
Yep.
Trial, conversion, loyalty.
Yep.
Right. So we have tremendous amount of history understanding how to do that. Digital came and said, well, we can do that better.
yeah,
Okay, great, because we have more signals, we have
Yeah.
more. Right? So then it became, well, we can do that in real time. And the reality is most of that shit is nonsense.
yeah. Yeah,
it's not
and
really
that
real
was
time.
that's been a claim in sort of ad tech, martech for a very long
Yeah,
time.
so it's-
Real time X, you can
Yeah.
instantly respond to consumer behavior, but I'm still being followed around with an ad for a product that I purchased
Correct.
already,
So
which
that-
means underlying data
So by
is not
definition,
working.
that is flawed, right? So and it still happens to this day, right? When you buy a product and then that same company communicates trying to buy you the same exact product that you just bought,
Yeah,
and you're like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy the same thing I just bought 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Why am I going to do that? Right. So that tells you inherently that there is no such thing yet. Maybe there are pockets of it. No such thing as truly seeing, understanding, recalibrating, and then adjusting.
yeah,
Okay. Now AI has the ability to address that in the ingoing and then the ongoing.
yeah. Has it to date?
So the hype of what people say they're using and say they're doing is a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
Right.
because that was the point you made. You made that
Correct.
that it's not there. There are a lot of broken use cases,
Correct.
a lot of like almost prototype type
Correct.
use cases.
Yeah, which is exactly that. There are a lot of prototypical things that people are doing that are trying to extrapolate out that they're successful, and the reality that they're not.
Yeah.
There's only, I've, in the years that I've been doing this, and probably in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been focusing on trying to identify true applications of AI, true apply AI.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is it has been vetted, it has been implemented in real world, and I can see it and trace it and understand and explain
Yeah,
it.
with the statistically
it.
significant sample, you know
That's it.
this is
So,
real.
and I've not,
Yeah.
maybe I have come across a handful of companies, right,
Yeah.
that I can say are truly applications of AI.
Yeah.
Right. MatSense is one of them, right?
Yeah,
Which is why I am, I have no reservations about attaching my name to a company, because I do.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the time.
To an AI company
To an AI company.
that you think is, and so let's pivot to that. That's a good pivot, and not to shill mad sense, but you are here on the graph. But no, what you described, which really stuck with me, and I started sort of incorporating it into my own thinking, was this notion of temporal intelligence,
Correct.
of how brands to properly use AI should be using it as sort of a memory center,
Correct.
that spans time. Right, so that you can, it spans time and it also spans people, because if a person leaves an organization, there's not, in today's world or in yesterday's world, there's a brain drain.
That's
right, and their intellectual capital spread out in a 1,000 different places, email chains, folder systems, none of which is actionable or usable. Right,
not to the extent that organizations, when they claim enterprise intelligence, you look at them, you're like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. So it kind of brings up this notion of organizations, enterprises using AI to build IP that stands the test of time. Right. And they could use it to point back to decisions they've made in the past.
Traceability.
Traceability. So tell me about that, because MadSense is doing some really interesting things in terms of what they implement on the client side.
The application. So I will tell you that if everybody has access to the same AI, right? What's the competitive differentiation?
Yeah,
it's not. It's commodity, right?
Yeah.
So people will say, no, I have different. Everybody's access to the same AI.
Yeah.
Everybody's using the same AI.
Yeah.
Claude.
Yeah.
OpenAI. Everybody's using that. Yeah. Right. So they're giving up their most important thing, which is IP.
Yeah.
To something that they will never give it back to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
And you're and if it's publicly available, you're training the model for
their
other
models.
People. Yeah.
That's why they call it world models.
Yeah.
And it's not called your model.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big difference, right?
They're
like, well, it's a world model. And that doesn't frighten you. You're giving your data with somebody else's data, right? They're diluting it, connecting it. They're learning more about you. You will never learn.
Yeah.
You should never do it. Why would you do that? Because you have an ability to actually do it the right way.
Yeah.
So when you look at what is the right way, so if that is the thesis saying, if everybody has access to the same AI, what is true competitive differentiation? It has to be cognitive capital. That is the most underutilized asset, but it is the most critically important in modern marketing today.
Yep.
Right. Cognitive capital.
Yep.
Right? What sits,
which is sort of the brain power behind the organization.
Correct. So people will say, well, I give it data. Yeah, but that's not the point. The data is not the important. It's the context of that data.
Yep.
Which the only way you have meaning, context is meaning.
Yep.
Right. Is from people's heads.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not encoding that into something, right, that is yours, your and only yours, that you have no AI. It's impossible, because how do you get artificial intelligence? The only way you can craft intelligence is when you've already encoded your human expertise and institutional knowledge in a system that has learned over time how you think, how you behave, how you learn, how you reason, how you make decisions, how you trade off.
Yeah, and it's how human beings evolved, right? Not only culturally what we're learning and what's being passed down from generations, but epigenomics, right? Which is stuff that's encoded in our brains from generations past that are not alive. Yeah, it's almost like if you ever want to get to AGI, which it sounds like today, nobody's even close.
People will say they
to encoding this type of cognitive sort of intelligence. That's what you need to get to.
Yeah. So MadSense is again, the reason I got excited and attracted to MadSense is their focus was exactly on this, right?
Yeah.
Is encoding what makes a business unique, the business genome, the intellectual DNA of an organization.
Yeah.
That is true IP.
Yeah.
That is, once you have that inside a system and that the organization has reconditioned themselves to work in a system like that.
Yeah.
There is no amount of money that exists in the world that can replicate that.
Yeah.
It's unreplicable. You cannot copy that. It's impossible to copy.
Yep.
That is true differentiation, right?
Well, how do you get people to buy into this? I mean, how do you get people using it and putting their information into it? How does MadSense sort of manage that process?
The interesting part is the industry has done the hard work for a company like MadSense.
Yeah.
Right? Because all the reports say the same exact thing. Everybody spends, it's not a question of spending money. It's $50 billion has been spent already into AI, right?
Yeah.
Enterprises. 97%, people will say it's like over 95%, probably closer to 98%, have failed.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're trying to do what I just described with open models, with horizontal models, which models by design are meant to be consumer facing, not business.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, it doesn't work. Exactly. So you just proved the thesis. It doesn't work because they're not meant to do what you're trying to get them to do.
Yeah.
And there is no amount of money that you're going to give these guys. By the way, it will require tens of millions of dollars to get OpenAI to try to build something that is bespoke to you, but they don't even want to do that. That's not their business.
Yeah, and it seems like the whole industry is moving towards multi-model and developing sort of proprietary agents, super agents, the Hermes, the open clause, to be able to, hey, we're going to use models for compute and for decisioning and for problem solving, but we're going to have this independent thing that's building a memory system, that's building a soul. That's an interesting term that came up relatively recently. And I was like, what is a soul when you ask a tech person? And what they're saying is it's really your sort of how this AI should behave.
That's right.
Right. And the rules and sort of the guidebook. It's not the semantic layer per se, but is
no. So what you have in an AI system, a true specialized AI system built on the DNA of an organization, right? The DNA of an organization, it takes time. Think about an organization that's been around 50 years, 100 years. You think you're going to take an off-the-shelf AI or an agent and say, we're an AI company.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, and suddenly, design their category, design their sort of competitive plays.
How is that possible?
Right? Yeah,
right? To do 50 to 100 years worth of knowledge in a week, I mean, that's impossible.
Yeah, and so that notion of like over the course of time, it has a compounding effect.
It has to. Well, that's the beauty, right? So once you've trained and fine-tuned the AI to your organization, right? The soul aspect, to what makes you, right? Because remember, the organization,
and that could be company values, rules of engagement.
So it's all the business physics.
Yeah.
So remember, it's human expertise, institutional knowledge, but also all the other things. Right? What you can say, what you can't say, when you can say it, like product pricing, all those things. That's all proprietary. Right. So we have what MadSense has the ability to do is extract all of that, build the initial foundation, work with the teams, because that's the other thing where a company like MadSense has figured out is it should never be a SaaS business. Right? Most of these companies, good luck. Here you go. Good luck. And you're like, what do you mean?
What am I going to do with this?
So education and knowledge, as you know, right, are probably the biggest barriers to true AI application. So MadSense works with these companies to really recondition them how to think about AI, how to institutionalize AI, how to retrain your people to work and think and reason in a system. Right? And it's
not just a tool, it's IP. It's fundamental IP.
It's your core operating model moving forward, right? After time, right, it learns and understands. It starts making connections. It starts reinforcing. It starts deciding. It starts challenging you.
And it's getting more and more accurate as it goes through this process.
Accuracy, 100%, right? You have less error rates. I say over a period of time, then I would make the claim that you have artificial intelligence. Because now, so the business has artificial intelligence because now the AI has learned, right, the things that makes the business the soul of the business.
You're seeing the execs that I talked to that say, I use Copilot, I use XYZ, right? It's not artificial intelligence in the true sense.
No. So when people claim that, people don't realize what it takes to create artificial intelligence, right?
It's building a memory system, it's building a soul, it's building rules of engagement.
But you have to capture all that information that makes who you are, right? And then realize that you're going to be transitory. Employees are transitory. So you're going to have more employees come in and out, right? So when you have a system like this, that is no longer things that will hurt your business. You have no more memory.
It's risk reduction.
That's right.
From an organizational perspective.
So now you have the uniqueness of being a true enterprise intelligence organization where the enterprise benefits from the collective.
Well, you've heard it here. I mean, we've been talking for a while, but I think George just redefined artificial intelligence for organizations, or gave a true definition. And I honestly agree with it 100%. That's how you have to think about this. You're building a memory system, you're building IP, and it stands the test of time. But thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. As always.
It's a little warm out here. We're up on top of a roof deck with an infinity pool a little far away from us, but this has been a pleasure, George.
It's always my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Absolutely. Thank you again. Cheers.